Hey guys, this is Adam Amble from the A to G Show 2.0, about to start in 1 minute. Tonight on the show, Scott Ulibarri joins us, and we will discuss the return of the PGA, long gone summer 30 for 30, troubles for the MLB, and the Wolverines versus Buffs college sports experience, and of course, some B&O. So join us in the fun, and welcome to the A to G Show 2.0. All right. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to episode 12 of the A to G Show 2.0. I am Adam Amble, coming to you live from Castle Rock, Colorado on a blistering Tuesday evening. Sitting in tonight for G is a familiar face, Mr. Scott Ulibarri. Scotty, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
Welcome back, sir. How's the weather out there tonight?
Oh, it's beautiful. It was low 80s today, not too humid, sunny. It was perfect Michigan day.
Oh, that's good to know. Well, yeah, that's nice. Weather was a little rough this weekend, I hear, but hopefully be getting back at it with some boating and stuff, I'm sure. But appreciate you sitting in tonight. As always, a good time, and thanks you all for joining tonight. After the show, make sure to head on over to the M Factor channel on YouTube and subscribe. We really appreciate it. There's a link in the description, so click on that, leave us a like, and of course, if you missed the show tonight or just want to watch it again, then it will be posted on the M Factor page later tomorrow. Make sure to head on over to that after the episode. And I want to give a huge thanks to everyone that's been supporting some of the merch on the M Factor merch store. There are some new items this week, so make sure to head on over there and check it out. A link is in the description. So again, thank you all, and thank you all for the support. The last couple weeks, we have 2 straight episodes of over 400 views. So heck, why not? Let's make it number 3, folks, by sharing on your Facebook page. Just hit that share button, and let's keep it going. All right, folks. So as for tonight, let's get rocking with the return of the PGA, which returned last weekend. On Thursday, I believe it started. And to be honest with you, Scotty, I was really not impressed with the talk that I was getting on social media. Just a couple of my golf buddies really were discussing it on Twitter. That was about it. I didn't hear a lot about it on the sports shows. I was really surprised on how much, we mentioned it a couple weeks ago, or pretty much every week now, that as these sports start to come back, if you are some of the first sports that comes back, you're going to get huge ratings, but not so much with golf. Did you watch any golf this weekend, or?
I actually watched more than I thought I would. We would go out to eat and they'd have it on TV since it was about the only thing on, and actually did watch quite a bit of it. It's pretty good to see it back. They didn't either. I can't decide if I haven't been into golf much lately and I just don't recognize the names, or just a lot of the names aren't playing, or some of both. But there was some interesting golf. I enjoyed it.
Did you see? And that was I didn't tune in at all. Like I said, I was just reading it up on Twitter. Now, I do think that it's NASCAR ratings have been killing it the last couple of weeks in terms of TV ratings, and I figured there's more of a fan base for golf during this time than there would be for NASCAR, but I think NASCAR has really stepped it up in terms of actually doing 2 races a week. Not so much this week because Talladega is the big one coming up here, but they've been doing 2 races a week, which has been fantastic. I've been enjoying the races, and they've been good races, right? Very competitive. Who actually won this last weekend? Do you even know the guy's name, or?
Yeah, it was oh shoot.
Yeah, I don't.
Burger, I think. I think it's Burger.
Yeah, it wasn't anyone like really famous, was it? Like no one.
No, he was in the top. I think he was in the top 60 coming in. He was like 60th or something coming in. He wasn't a big name. He's actually been good, except for I mean, he has a bunch of like top 10 finishes over like the last 4 tournaments he's been in, but he's been injured, and so those last 4 tournaments I think have been over like the last 5 months, and so he hasn't played a lot of
Yeah,
golf.
Steve Fox. Hey, Steve. Hey, Lori. He said Daniel Berger won. So we watched the final round, and Daniel Berger won. Was it even? Was it very competitive? Even?
Yeah, it was actually pretty fun. They went to extra
Oh,
holes.
okay, okay,
Morikawa, who was playing well, missed a 6 footer and a 3 footer. Just easy putts that he should have had to win it. It was fun. I thought it was kind of fun watching Jordan Spieth, even though he didn't win and didn't go into the final holes. I don't think he shot some good scores. He was all over the map though. Like he hit one out of bounds and then comes back on that hole and makes a bogey. I think on I can't remember if it was Friday or Saturday. He had a 4 putt, and pros never 4 putt. He had a 4 putt and still shot a 65,
okay.
which was unbelievable.
So yeah, that's not too shabby.
If he could string some consistency together, I think Spieth is gonna be good this season or the rest of the season.
I mean, we'll see. I don't even know how much is or how many like how much of a delay was it? Do you know how late the season started? How much later than it normally would have? Well, the Masters is what early April,
it's
so
way late.
figure that.
Yeah.
But we got some comments here. John Lynch, hey John, good to see you, man. I didn't even know golf was on and never heard of the winner. That's exactly right. Steve Fox says yes, playoff. JC, good to see you, buddy. No Tiger, no viewing market. That actually was my next point.
Or Phil.
Yeah, no Phil, no Tiger. And that's exactly what I said. I said it really just confirms the fact that we need Tiger in the sport, right? We need Tiger in the sport to really boost the ratings. I know you got the diehards, but the fact that golf it kind of fell in the ratings when there hasn't been a lot of sports, fell to NASCAR is kind of a testament to really where that sport could be heading with no Tiger. They need someone like Spieth or Brooks Koepka's just kind of boring, right? He's really good. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. He's very talented. Obviously, he's an incredible golf player, but he just doesn't have the charisma and the. I don't know. It just seems like too much of a boring. You can't really market off Brooks, can you? Would you agree with that, Scotty?
Yeah, and I think though that the one part the part about the tournament that I like watching most was have you seen Bryson? I'm gonna start calling him Bryson Diesel DeChambeau.
I know who he is. Yeah.
Okay, he is jacked. He's up to 245. He looks like a long drive competition guy out there. These big upper body guys that just swing out of their shoes, and he was hitting it a long ways too. I mean, his average two hole on par fours was only 114 yards, and so he's throwing sand wedges out there on his second shot on par fours and hitting it straight. So and he was fun to watch. He's an interesting guy. He's very analytical and uses data to help complement his game, and all of his shaft lengths are the same size, including his wood. So he's an interesting guy. I'd like to see him do well because I could see him being kind of one of those enigmas that they may be able to market.
Is he a younger guy, Scotty, or?
Yeah, I think he's younger. He won or was competitive in the U.S. Amateur, I think it was a couple years ago, maybe 5 years ago. So I think he's under 30, but don't quote me on that.
Okay, well, fair enough. Yeah, if anyone knows, let's see. What do we got? Steve Fox, golf is definitely better with the galleries. Yep, this is kind of what, again, discussing, obviously, Steve, after watching almost every episode, I appreciate it, Steve. But, we've really been talked about how the effects of no fans are really going to affect these sports. MMA, it was just different on listening to, like, the fighters like breathing and stuff. You could really hear that, stomping on the ground. You could really hear them moving around, scuffling on the mats and stuff. NASCAR really, spectators are tough. I mean, heck, during the iRacing, right? They basically had computer animated fans in the stands that don't even move, right? Which was kind of creepy because everyone would be like stiff as the cameras would like roll around them, which was pretty hilarious. But I really think that I do think this is going to be a problem. We'll see this. Does this lay par to like the NBA coming back soon without any fans down in Orlando? You know what I mean? I think that
it's going to be weird.
I think it will be, but I think it hurts golf a little more than it will the NBA, simply because the NBA is such a TV sport. You know what I mean? I really think I really wish they would pump some crowd volume into the arenas like so many college stadiums have been accused of doing, right, Scotty?
The Colts used to do that too.
What's that?
The Indianapolis Colts used to do that.
Oh, geez. Oh, be careful. Hopefully
they actually got in trouble for that. I think.
Hopefully our buddy K-Fed isn't watching, but the the thing is, I really think that it'd be an interesting idea for the NBA during these, this little tournament or whatever, this little trial down in Orlando. I think it'd be great if you had like a designated home team, and when you make a big shot or something, they crank up the volume on the crowd. Make some guys have watched enough NBA basketball and enough sporting events to know when a crowd is really amped, momentum, and the coach has to call a timeout or something to settle down the crowd or something. I think that'd be awesome if like the coach had to call a timeout to settle down the sound guy actually cranking up the crowd noise and bring it back down. Kind of some weird crowd noise rules I think would be really fun.
It'd be really weird with that is, are they still going to do playing the rap while they're doing the walk-up music from half court, or are they going to play the NBA jams type songs, timeout and stuff?
I think they should, just to get it as normal as possible. One, for the players, and two, for the fans on TV. I really think they can. It's one of my favorite things about watching all sports is the crowds, right? Is the crowd noise and the crowd getting amped. You feel part of the game, even when you're watching it on TV. So I really think that's something. Let's see. We got some. JC says Bryson definitely jacked up. Yes, only 25 years old, so you weren't too far off there, Scotty. John Lynch, agree with Steve. Better with fans. The Buzz Ziegler German Premier Soccer League piped in fan noise, and it was awesome. Sorry, I just saw that, John. So yeah, people are doing it. Yeah, that's great. Let's see. Steve Fox. It was neat hearing some of the golfers. Brooks Koepka dropping the F-bomb. Ooh, did they have to apologize for that, Steve? I don't know. You might have to apologize for doing that nowadays.
It was kind of nice not hearing someone say "Go Tiger" after every damn tee shot.
Well, of course,
so annoying.
Of course, Tiger would probably yell at him, right, and get all bent out of shape. So yeah, I was, wrapping up the first topic here again. Thanks everyone for joining the A to G Show 2.0. Adam Amble with Scott Ulibarri. In ending this topic, I really was surprised on the lack of total viewership when compared to NASCAR. You know what I mean? I really thought that it would be equal to the NASCAR viewership, simply because it is kind of the next major sport to come back and be on TV, kind of a regular every weekend type sport. Very, very surprised that it was not as big as I thought it was going to be. It was still nice having golf back, right? But just not as big as I thought it was going to be. So with that, let's move on to our next topic, and that's obviously topic 2. Now, we've discussed earlier, Scotty, I know we discussed it a few weeks ago. G and I have discussed it many times on how much we really enjoy these 30 for 30s that they're coming out with. Mainly because I think, a lot of them, I'm glad that there's new ones, basically. I'm glad that there's new ones because we've been kind of just shoved down our throat, replay sports that, games that we've already seen of these sporting events. So we really kind of just, we already know the outcome. Still fun to watch, but, we're kind of over it, I feel. So new, like The Last Dance was prime time to come out. And now a lot of these new 30 for 30s. And what are the odds with our third topic, actually, of the issue with MLB baseball? But I'm really thinking that this 30 for 30 was prime time with yet another solid one on Sunday, and that was a long gone summer about the race to 62 between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Scotty, I got to ask you first: Did you see the 30 for 30 or?
Yeah, I did, and I really liked it. I thought it was entertaining.
Okay, great.
And that one was cool because I remember that summer in particular. In that race and being really, that really bringing a lot of baseball fans out and doing a lot for the sport. It was a fun summer of baseball and with those guys being, having a lot of camaraderie and pushing each other for that race. I do remember that very fondly, and it was a lot of fun to watch, to rewatch and get some of the background and, kind of refresh my memory as to some of the stuff that went on that summer with that race. It was really neat.
Yeah, and just to add on to some of that, Scotty, and I feel kind of got emotional during that. Simply because it was something that I really missed about sports. Not politicized at all. Media didn't try to politicize it terribly. There's the part that almost did bring me to tears pretty much. Got that lump in my throat, and that was when towards the end of the season there, when McGwire hit number 61. Sosa and the Cubs came to town, and he stepped up for his first at bat, and he got a standing ovation from the Cardinals fans. You know, I mean, it still gives me kind of goosebumps because it's something that in the great divide that is today's world that you don't see a lot of. You just don't. You know, everyone could cheer that on. There wasn't a soul. I don't care. You know, political wise, team wise, sports wise. You know, class wise, it was just race wise. Obviously, it was just something that everyone was behind because those two guys really. You mentioned it, Scotty. It was a good point that those two guys really embraced it and embraced each other in a good, fun, just a great battle. And there was still no guarantee at that point that anyone was going to break the record, right? So, you know, McGwire hit his 61st that game, and he went up, he pointed at the Maris family, and then the next night when he hit number 62, you know, Sosa running in from right field there and giving him just a big old hug, you know, McGwire hugging his son, picking up his son, just a great memory of really what sports is all about, and it's something we've kind of lost in the last decade. Of really that two teams that are, we mentioned, I think you even stated it last week,
rivals.
right? Cardinals and Cubs are like
Yeah.
the probably the second biggest rivals in Major League Baseball, right? Behind Yankees, Red Sox. So just to think that something like that, to where the fans, even for St. Louis, with their dire rivals in town, give Sammy Sosa a standing ovation, was something I really, I rewound it and watched it a few times. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and it's just something that I wish from a sports community that we could really get back to, and hopefully we can get back to it, because it was a special feeling.
Nice.
It's the greatest thing about sports, right? Is that feeling.
Yeah, and stuff like that's supposed to be our relief from the real world, and sports is supposed to be one of those things that does that, and distracts us from the other crap that we have to deal with in life. And it's gotten to the point now where it's just infected everything, and so we don't have that quite as much anymore. And that was just a feel good summer. I just remember that was one of the coolest summers of my life, and that was part of it for sure.
Yeah, I remember that too, when they actually broke two. When McGwire hit his, even the major networks went to that game when he every at bat, when he could possibly. So we all got to basically see it live, because if you were watching TV at that time, every Mark McGwire at bat, all the networks would flash to it. We got some.
Oh, everyone cut in. Yeah, it was awesome.
We got some more comments, Scotty. Steve Fox, I loved after he hit number 62, went into the stands and embraced the Maris family. Absolutely, all around it, except for later on, which we'll talk about here in a second, was the steroids thing. But all around, just fantastic sportsmanship, love of the game. The media portrayed it correctly, just to make you feel good, and not try to split it up, between Mark McGwire, Southern Cal kid, and Sammy Sosa from the Dominican.
Republic,
everything was just felt together. Everyone was on the same page. Everyone was rooting for him, and it was fantastic. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. John Lynch, it was amazing. Even my wife, who hates sports, tuned in for that. Steve Fox says Lori, his wife, did as well. Just fantastic, and which kind of leads us into the the non-feel-good part of the story, right, Scotty? And that was when towards the end, I do like the fact that they only kind of dedicated 15 minutes basically to the steroid out of a 2-hour show, the last 15 minutes, because it was a real feel-good story that we all needed to be reminded of. And if you haven't watched it, folks, if you're watching right now or watching it sometime this week, this show, make sure you tune in. It's on demand. So ESPN 30 for 30, Long Gone Summer, and just remember what it felt like to have everyone on the same page there. And like I said, only the last 15 minutes were about the steroids, and I kind of I'm still torn about this steroid talk. I know it's the steroid era. Let me get your thoughts first, Scotty, on what your thoughts are on one. Steroids in the era. Did it really did it hurt baseball? Help baseball? Was it really as big a conspiracy as you think that kind of the media kind of portrayed that it was? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, if I recall correctly, and I think they hit on this, where steroids they were illegal in the law, but they weren't illegal in baseball. And so it's kind of one of those things where if you're not taking everything to your advantage, you're kind of at a disadvantage. I don't know if I really agree with that, but it wasn't illegal in baseball at the time. But the other thing that they didn't mention in this that I remember being barely touched on, but you think of steroids as being something that makes you bulkier and everything. Steroids does a lot to make you recover, and pitchers were taking it too. And if you think about how fast you need to recover as a pitcher, a lot of pitchers were taking this as well. And so it's not like this was a one-sided
Exactly.
thing.
A lot of people don't remember that, but they're, if you got two people on level playing fields, pitcher versus the hitter, I really think that it doesn't matter. And you're absolutely right. Just to elaborate on that too, Scotty, a lot of these weren't even considered steroids. I mean, creatine, and they weren't illegal in baseball until after all of this happened. That's what really frustrates me is these guys they were doing everything exactly. You got to push yourself to the edge if you want to be competitive, right? That's why these guys are where they're at. That's why you're in professional sports. You don't get to professional sports by just doing the bare minimum, right? And because all these guys are doing it, all these guys are pushing themselves to the edge. It's just, I go back to NASCAR again. How often do you see the winner of the race? You probably are breaking the rules 99% of the time, but you're just barely breaking the rules. You're pushing it until you see what you can get away with, right? Same thing with the human body. And you're right. A lot of these steroids were recovery, like testosterone and stuff to help you recover. And you're right. Pitchers were taking it. Batters were taking it.
You know who this
What's that, buddy?
who was it though? I think who this hurt the most though was Ken Griffey Jr. because he was never suspected of it. He had injuries at that time, and he was probably a better natural player than any of them.
Oh, he's in my opinion, he's the GOAT of Major League Baseball. I think Ken Griffey Jr. had it all. He had it all. And don't forget, he was in that home run race. I think he ended up hitting, 55, 56 home runs that year. So he was right there with them. It was all. I wish they would have showed the home run derby that year because that was fun to watch. Remember, it was at Fenway or whatever, and they were just hitting bombs over the Green Monster, McGuire, Sosa. We got Scotty Slack. Good to see you, Scotty. I brought McGuire's rookie card about 2 weeks before he broke the record for about 250, and it's now probably worth about 60. Horse bleep. That's right. Well, unfortunately, sports memorabilia kind of went down during the recession terribly. Well,
think about the poor guy that paid $2.7 million for that baseball. It's probably not even
exactly
near that.
When he said that, I was shocked. That's one point.
Me too.
The second one, Scotty. How about another feel-good story about that? Was that kid that picked up the ball at number 62, gave it back to McGuire. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now, still talking about it and thinking about it. And that kid, I'm sure the McGuires probably took care of that kid. I'm sure he's not doing too bad right now. I'm sure, but still, what a class act to realize. You know what? I didn't have anything to do with it. I just happened to be in the spot at the right time. And then he got to go on like Dave Letterman, and he's a funny guy. I wish I knew exactly who he was, but he was hilarious on Letterman. But I thought that was hilarious on some of the things that that he seemed like a really funny guy. Jay Lynch says, "Hey, got to bounce. Tell Scotty hello." John Lynch says hello.
What's up, John?
See you, John. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. But yeah, I thought they did a great job of putting it together. And again, not focused. Some people, a lot of sports shows that I listened to were so upset that they're like, well, this was supposed to be a documentary on the steroid area. I'm like, no. I don't think so. I thought it was how this battle really saved Major League Baseball from the strike that was a couple years ago. It was dead. It was absolutely dead.
Totally.
So,
I mean, just the fact that everyone was tuned in at every at bat that McGuire and Sosa had, especially the second half of the season. I mean, I remember darn near every program that you could think of was cutting in, and every night on SportsCenter that led off for like half a summer.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the thing. I don't think it was supposed to. I was glad that it wasn't just about the steroids, right? Because it really was a prime time. And the total, like I said, the total feel good stories that were in this documentary were fantastic. So I don't even care if it was just a historical like replay of what happened, because that's kind of more of what it was. It wasn't a crazy documentary. It was just kind of replaying and explaining what happened throughout the season, right? And I didn't care. I thought it was fantastic. And to be honest with you, Scotty, that leads us as a good segue right into our next topic.
Yeah, it is.
And that is, again, the MLB meets the owners and players met. Again, they could not come up with a proper with an agreement to start playing this season. Of course, the MLB commissioner stated a couple of days ago that he's like, oh, 100% we'll have a baseball season. Well, he kind of reneged on that recently, saying that now he's now he's a little worried about if they're going to have an MLB season. And Scotty, all I have to say about this is this could be the end, because I don't see you having another Sosa McGuire type story, especially since they did crack down on steroids and we're not seeing the biggest, best athletes out there. And I think Major League Baseball has really been, has been struggling for a couple years now. And now all of a sudden you add this into the mix. I don't know. What's your thoughts, Scotty?
I think that the vast majority of people just get really sick of millionaires and billionaires arguing with each other over money.
Yeah.
And the model I like to think of is the NFL. An NFL player gets paid per game. So you play a game, you get paid. You get your paycheck for that game. That's 1/16 of what your salary is for that year. I don't understand why baseball can't just do the same thing. We play 76 games, you get 76 paychecks. But it was broken down from your salary, so it'd be prorated, which is how it would be with football. If you miss 4 games, you don't get those 4 paychecks. You should do the same in baseball. But the last I heard, I think they wanted 76 games, which is only 47% of the season, with 75% prorated pay. It's like, wow, you guys are actually making more per game than you would normally.
Yep. And it's very difficult for some people to understand about a rate, right? A rate. You guys are going to need to realize that. Not so much our viewers, but a lot of the players, of course, are going to want their money. A lot of these guys, it's their livelihood, right? It is a lot of There are a lot of millionaires, but not every baseball player is a millionaire, right? You got the top tier guys that are making a crap ton of money, and then there's not a lot of middle class in Major League Baseball. Still millionaires, of course, but you got. I really think that's a good call. They really need to take a look at it from a game-to-game rate, because I think we broke down like starting pitchers on what they make per game, like some of the big ones, like when Verlander got a big contract, like how many millions of dollars they got per start, you know what I mean, or how much money they made like per pitch.
$76,000 per pitch.
Yeah, it was like per pitch. Yeah, exactly. We got some more comments. Scotty Slack, Sosa still won't admit to using PEDs or PEDs. Jeremy Schaap interviewed him last year, and he said he would only say that if he never tested positive. And Schaap kept asking him if he ever took them, but Sosa would never say that he never took them. Well, there was, not to get back on it, but there was a lot. There was like that New York Times report, right? That basically they had the list of like 100 randomly tested players, and the list didn't show a lot of them. So, hey, if they want to keep denying it, that's.
Well, I think Sosa has to deny it because he said he didn't do it in front of Congress, and if he
that's
says
right.
yes at any point, he
perjured himself, right?
I don't know what the statute of limitations is on that, but I don't want to play with that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, especially nowadays, right? Good Lord. Steve Fox says won't happen. They're at war, obviously, calling it for this season for the MLB. Of course, nowadays we should never say never. It's a good call. I don't see them recovering from this, because again, you're getting the average baseball fan to really say, what are these greedy owners and these greedy players really arguing over? Is it something else? But no, I really think after listening to not the conversation, but taking a look at the agreements, it just comes straight down to money, right?
And they're burning time. I mean, they're at a point now where if they don't get something done, I would say probably in the next week, there's not going to be enough time left, because what are we going to do? Be playing baseball in New York in February? I mean, that's just not going to happen.
Exactly. Or Detroit, for that matter. Not that Detroit did get a couple good draft picks this year.
Or Colorado.
Yeah.
You do that in Colorado, you might be under 2 feet of snow.
Yeah, that's true. They might have to move it down south, which I thought they were talking about doing anyway, but. Ever since apparently it's not a big deal to gather in large crowds, right, Scotty? I guess what does it matter? But so from the MLB standpoint, the big reason that I think that they're ending, that this could be a big deal breaker for many of the fans is, again, we've kind of been on the downward trend. Major League Baseball is a slow game, a lot of history. So you got a lot of the diehard fans, but even a lot of the diehard older fans, I'm sure, are kind of just getting a little tired of this going back and forth. And again, once more sports start coming back, Scotty, I think you'll see a lot of people, like I said, a lot of the diehard fans of Major League Baseball really go back or withdraw themselves from baseball and start watching some of these other sports and really seeing, okay, I kind of like this upbeat tempo. Football is America's sport. Really, it's made for TV. It's solid. It's a great game. You got basketball, which is fast paced, right? In my opinion, hockey is kind of boring to watch. Soccer is kind of boring to watch. But at the same time, Major League Baseball in general is just a slow-paced sport. That's what it's made to be. So you're going to really turn off a lot of these people, especially the average watchers. I'll turn on a game every now and then, but I'm just going to lose interest because we will not have another story like we did back with McGuire and Sosa. I just don't think there's going to be. If you could think of one thing that might be the savior for it, and viewers, let me know as well. Again, thanks for joining, but let me know what your ideas. What do you think is the one thing that could save Major League Baseball? A rule change, a player-to-player rivalry, which probably won't happen. What do you think, Scott? You got any ideas on something that could possibly help Major League Baseball?
The only thing I could think of would be if one of these like ancient records gets broken. Like I think Ted Williams is still the last player to hit over 400, wasn't he? I think.
Yeah.
So if you have someone that maybe approaches some of these incredible records, which that's the only thing I could think of, but there aren't a ton of them left out there. I think that people pay that much attention to. And there are ones that will never be touched, and people that aren't even coming close. Like no one's going to beat Cal Ripken's consecutive games anytime soon. There's no one even that's sniffing that record.
No, not even close, and not even because of injury. Now you just get the players that just they'll take a game off. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And that's one thing.
But that'd be the only thing that I could think of that would come close. But I don't think it'd be even that relevant at this point.
Oh yeah. And I agree. That's a good one though with the 400. That might be the only because the home run records aren't going to be touched anymore. Yeah, now it's.
We have a lot of these old pitching records are from like the World War I era and like right after.
Oh, not going to happen.
These guys.
Yeah, because that was back in the day when you used to pitch like 40 games a year. So.
Right. And like 200 pitches or whatever.
Yeah, unless you get and I look at it, I was like, you can't even get excited about a guy that throws gas. That's not very fun anymore. You're not going to have the long ball hitters like you did back in the steroid era, if you want to still call it that. Yeah. You're not going to have the Bonzes. You're not going to have the McGuires, the Sosas. You just won't have those guys anymore. In my opinion, you got some rule changes that could possibly help, and that is speeding up the game. I know they've been trying to, but I think speeding up the game, maybe putting a time. It's the only game that doesn't really have a clock, right? That doesn't really have a running clock. And two, I think you really need to shorten the season. I mean, 106. There's no sense of urgency in baseball, and maybe that's its appeal to some of the older crowd. The fact that it is relaxing. It's a statistician game. You know what I mean? You got people. I know a lot of old timers that really just love watching every single game and taking stats, box scores for every single player that plays in the league. They got MLB. What's the DirecTV like MLB?
The package.
Yeah, the package that you could see.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called.
You can see like every game that you want to. I know a couple guys that used to do that. We got some good comments here. Let's see. Zach French. Last I saw, they were fighting over 300 million, which is roughly 10 million per team. Yeah, you put a monetary amount to it. I mean, that's still a lot of money to a lot of people. But at the same time, better watch out because it could be zero. Steve Fox, once football starts, MLB will have 0 viewers. That's correct. That is absolutely correct. My mom, hi mom.
Football isn't doing themselves any favors though either.
Yeah, true. My mom says it's ridiculous. Just start football with exclamation points. Well, Mom, I'm sure you saw I hope you saw that they unveiled Tom Brady in his Buccaneers uniform, looking pretty pimp. So hopefully you saw that. Steve Fox, a good idea here. I like this. Keeping batters from constantly stepping out of the batter's box. Again, speeding up the game, right? That gets back to,
Readjustments, all
doing
that.
this, taking the signs. Yeah, I think there needs to be almost like a shot clock, almost like a shot clock. I know they have a pitch clock, but it's still too long.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the other problem too is when they get these like, and I don't, it doesn't happen a ton, but you get these 12, 14, 16 inning games that just go for like a day and a half, and that just give
It
time.
is. It is.
The 162 game
I'd
season,
be
give time.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Let's see, Zach French, Trout and Harper need to be in the same league, and I don't know if that even does it. Steve Fox need to market their best players better. That is correct. That's something we discussed last week, actually, right, Steve? Was the fact that Trout and Harper's in Philly, Trout's in Anaheim, not even with the Dodgers. You don't.
Yeah.
You got terrible markets for these guys, and what's his face is down in San Diego. He's a Padre. No one goes to those games. He's the only he's the only reason why anyone would even go to the game. Steve Fox says
The game misses Jeter.
What's that?
The game misses Jeter.
Yeah, and Jeter. So you got your best player with your moneymaker teams, right? And I know you got Aaron Judge and Stanton with the Yankees, but again, it's just I don't know what they're going to do. They need to figure out something. Rule change, exactly. Get marketing your players a little better, and they make so much money. It's unreal. My mom did say she saw the Tom Brady thing, so that's good to know, Mom. I'm proud. I'm happy for you. With that, let's roll into our fourth discussion before some B&O. Again, thanks everyone for joining. I'm Adam Amble with Scott Ulibarri on the AGG Show 2.0. Don't forget to head on over to the M Factor merch store, pick up some stuff. Again, thanks people for buying some of this stuff. Really appreciate it. There's some new items on there that I think you'll like, so go check that out. But let's move on to our fourth and final topic before some B&O, Scotty, and that is you've had an interesting travels or kind of experience. A graduate from the University of Colorado, the Buffs, of being able to experience kind of what it's like in two different states, right? You've been an avid Michigan fan ever since you moved out to Michigan, and really take me through your experience. And I want to get away from you being a student at the University of Colorado, because I know you got some crazy stories. We could probably be here for hours talking about some of your experiences at the old football field. But what is it in terms of difference from the fans, from the TV exposure, from the excitement of the games? Of course, when you go to a college, when you go to university, I'm sure you really, you really take it in because that's your alma mater, right? You have a lot of pride in that university. But take me through some of the differences when you go from Colorado. You obviously went to a lot of Colorado Buffalo games, to a lot of Michigan football games, and we're not just talking football. We're talking basketball. We're talking I know Colorado hockey. I don't know if you ever went to like Denver hockey games or whatever. I figured not, but those are really fun, by the way. College hockey games.
Yeah.
But just take me through some of your. I labeled it as verse. Wolverines versus the Buffs. So what do you got? What did you like about both, and what did you dislike about both?
Well, the thing I like, and it transcends all these teams, but I mean, tailgating you can't beat. I mean, when you're out with a bunch of friends and drinking beers and having fun before the game and the sun's shining, whether it's Michigan, whether it's Colorado, I think tailgating is always the most fun part about it. There's since you're at a home, you're typically at a home game. It's all the same people that are cheering for that team, and so there's always a lot of good feeling before the game. CU, obviously, the big difference is the backdrop at Folsom Field with the mountains behind the field, and especially the evening games where you get the real nice orange sunset with the mountains, and then the lights come on, and it's just gorgeous. The field when it's lit up is really neat. And it's obviously much, much easier to get in and out of Boulder than it is Ann Arbor on game day because there's half the fans. But, the game experience. And actually, I've been to Notre Dame also for a game. And as weird as it sounds, that one was pretty lame. I mean, the fans just weren't the same. Nice stadium, beautiful stadium, a lot of history, neat place to go. But by far, CU and Michigan Stadium were the best places to watch games. The one interesting thing about game day at Michigan is how sophisticated the fans are with the waves that stop and start and go slow motion and then switch directions and go opposite directions. And that's just the first time I saw that, I was just blown away at how sophisticated the fans were.
It is great, the traditions at Michigan Stadium, right? That's something that I was gonna mention as well. I graduated from Ferris State. Not they're great at football now, but when I went there, not so much. But traveling around, I've been to a lot of Big Ten stadiums, and the Big House is just something to be said. But even growing up, the big thing is the history of not only in my family but obviously a lot of our friends. Watching the football games and basketball games. Chrysler used to be a dump, but I still liked going there. Chrysler's a lot better now. But, you got to admit, Scotty, how many I've had equal, friends in college, always good times with the family, but friends in college, friends, from Jackson it's always been, we've had some great memories of football games, basketball games, watching them together, going to the games together, just some great memories. And I think that's what a lot of the college football experience is all about. You mentioned a lot of the history, and they know what to do. They do it at the same time. Even the cheers, right? You when to pump when you're singing "Hail to the Victors." The band with the drum major always touching the back of their head to the ground.
Yeah, to the grass. Yeah,
that's pretty fun. And you just expect it every time, and you always know you're gonna get 100,000 plus at Old Michigan Stadium. So you don't get to see that hardly anywhere else in the country, right? So you're not going to see that amount of, in terms of crowd noise, not the craziest stadium. I think even Central Michigan, Kelly Shore Stadium might get louder than U of N Stadium. But
it's how it's designed because it goes. It's not so vertical. It's
back in the day, Scotty, it used to be even worse because they did whoever the architect was of the add-on, the renovation of Michigan Stadium. If you notice, when you go, hopefully this fall you get to a game, but if you notice the press boxes and the luxury boxes now curve in, and they kind of try to encapsulate all of that sound because they're kind of curved. Mm-hmm. Take a look at it. They're angled inwards. So that's something I noticed to try to keep some of that sound in. And also, you're right, because they used to build it up to where it was out, and then they added on and they built up a little bit, and now they actually try to do some of this. So it's very interesting to try to keep it in. So.
Yeah, but and that was one of the things that kind of caught me off guard. You'd think for that many people it'd be very loud, but I wouldn't. If you're especially in the student section side at Folsom Field where the Buffs play, I think it's probably louder than the opposing end zone in Michigan.
Sure, I would.
They're right on top.
I would agree with that. And out here, I bet football football Saturdays in Boulder are a blast. I
oh God.
I might have to go to. I might have to go to a Buffs game if they have it, but I really want to go to an Air Force game this year. So
Air Force is fun. Air Force is a lot of fun.
I heard. I drive by it every day, and I hear the flyovers are pretty cool. So
yeah, that's a neat experience. Going to a service academy game is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll look forward to that. We got some comments. Steve Fox, I remember doing the wave at Michigan Stadium. Oh yeah, just like everything is so planned. It's always at the same time. Like I said, a lot of history in that. Steve also says in 1981, Bo went nuts because fans were too loud and his QB could not hear signals, and that's incredible. Maybe back then it was a little louder, but then people maybe took the matter of fact that the stadium was too open. I think it was just loud because it was by far the biggest stadium back then, right? It wasn't even close.
That's weird that it'd be so loud when your team has the football.
Yeah, I think that's why Bo went nuts. I think that's why Bo was all upset. Yeah, I wonder what was Steve. You have to.
Quarterback needs to do the Peyton
Yeah,
Manning.
exactly. I wonder what was going on there, Steve. If you know, let us know. Alex Pluta, good to see you, buddy. Says go Navy. Obviously, talk about Air Force, but yeah, Navy. We're not
Well, wear my Air Force
disrespecting
hat.
any service academy game, right, Scotty? So I think they would any one of them would be fun to go to. Especially
Yeah,
like the Army Navy game. I think that would be a blast.
that'd be unbelievable.
Yeah, that would be something
It's
else.
the only football game on that day too, always. I think, or the only significant one.
Yeah, agreed. Steve Fox said this was back when fans could get flagged if QB. If QB. Oh, the fans could get flagged if the QB could not hear signals.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. I remember that.
Oh, if a opposing QB could not hear the signals. Okay.
Right.
Holy
That
cow.
makes more sense.
Well, that was that.
I remember that it was a sideline infraction.
Well, that's a dumb rule. I'm glad they got rid of that.
No
That's
kidding.
stupid.
Oh, because it'd make everyone even louder.
I know, especially nowadays. Could you imagine having that? That just eggs them on. I remember going to like some.
And you could probably drink in those days, so that was probably even rowdier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's crazy. I never knew about that rule actually, so that's good to know. Okay, Scotty. Well, let's move on to the next topic. Again, thanks for joining the A to G Show 2.0. Adam Amble with Scott Ulibarri sitting in for G. We just got done talking about or discussing our first four topics. Now we'll get into some B&O, Scotty. I got some solid ones tonight. Were you able to think of any yourself or?
I got a few.
All right.
And actually, it's funny because on a couple of them you've kind of danced around anyway. But the first one I thought, with the tailgating being my favorite part about it. If you're going to tailgate, hamburgers or hot dogs?
Oh, I like hot dogs, to be honest with you.
All right.
Going, of course, you can't go wrong with either of them, but I go with hot dogs. You remember going to the track and having the track dogs where you just squeeze the
track dogs.
I don't know why, but it makes it taste. It's the bun's obviously dense as hell, and it really makes it taste a little different. Don't put any ketchup, no mustard. You roast the old hot dog over the fire, put it in that bun, and just squeeze the bun all around it, so it looks like a little, basically looks like a little taquito, right? That's something I'm gonna miss at MIS. Still no word if MIS is gonna have fans. I know Talladega is gonna have 5,000 in the stands. They had a lot of the service members were invited to the Miami race, the Homestead race on last Sunday, which was a crazy race. Holy cow. Talk about some storms going on. It was delayed by I was going to bed here in Colorado, and the race was, I don't even think they were done with stage one yet. So that's good stuff.
Yeah. I kept trying to run watch, and it was always in the delay. And just real quick for posterity, normally I'm a hamburger guy, tailgating hot dog all the way.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm not.
And I'd forgot about the track dogs and how good those were.
Oh yeah, yep. That's Steve Fox says burgers. And another thing I like about the hot dogs is they're just easier to make, right? So you don't need any of the fixins. Too. You know what's that, buddy?
Yep. They're very portable.
Yes,
too.
exactly right. All right, I got one for you, Scotty, and this is okay. Right. Being in Michigan for a few years, we kind of touched on it already, and I know we've had great times for both, but Michigan football or Michigan basketball?
That's a really tough one because Michigan basketball has been so much better.
I
mean, we've seen them in two national championships. We've seen them, go deep in the tournament. We've seen them make these incredible runs. It's at a time of year when there's not a ton else going on. Gosh.
And how many good, fun times have we had? The Big Ten tournament, NCAA tournament.
How about this? I got my answer. It's Michigan basketball. I wish it was Michigan football. I'm a bigger football fan.
That's exactly.
But it's definitely good basketball.
I might have to give it to Michigan basketball too. One, you get to watch them a little more. Don't get me wrong. Everyone, don't bash us because again, Michigan football is obviously deep in my heart anyway. But Michigan basketball, especially when Michigan football was really down with the Rich Rod, Brady Hoke eras. Besides the 1 year Brady Hoke, John Beeline and the Michigan basketball team really picked us up. They made the tournament for the first time in years during that time span. They were fun to watch. And then you're right, Scott. I think about it. We've seen them in two national championship games. We've seen them win the Big Ten tournament twice now, right? Well,
They've
three times technically,
overperformed.
but two in a row, almost three in a row.
Yeah.
Uh,
And they've overperformed.
yeah, yeah. And when they,
Unlike Michigan football, which is underperformed.
and how many
I think.
good Saturdays, how many good Sundays did we have watching, parties at the M Factor at your place, even at T-Bone's place,
all over the place.
at the local watering hole? How many great games did we see in basketball? Football,
Tons.
Now football live, of course, I've seen some great games at the Big House. Going to the Big House is a once in a lifetime experience, but at the same time, I would have to go with Michigan basketball at this point in time. Because they always seem to overachieve, right? To where we don't think that, we kind of have they'll make the tournament, but not expect a lot out of them. And boom, they just surprise us. And they're just fun to watch. That's the big thing, is they're not a boring team to watch. We've had some great players from all the way up from Stauskas, Trey Burke, to Wagner, some of these guys that we just loved. And it's been a great time. Let's see what
And they've just have characters on the team like
Spike.
Spike.
It's exactly right. Let's see. Pluto says basketball. Zach French, I'd rather go to a Michigan b-ball game. They're both fun, especially now that Chrysler is looking nice. They did a good job a couple years ago when they redid it.
I've still never been to Chrysler, unfortunately. We were gonna go last year, and then ended up having to cancel. But I've still never been to Chrysler.
Nowadays,
can't wait to get
it's
out
nice
there.
because you can just hop on, StubHubs at your disposal, and definitely get to a game, Scotty, because it's enjoyable, and I think they'll be pretty good this coming year. So they'll be
I hope
solid.
so.
Okay, what do you got? What do you got next, buddy?
Well, now that you've experienced some of that really hot weather in Colorado, would you rather have the really hot with the dry, or moderately hot here in Michigan with the insane humidity?
The Colorado weather by far.
That's one thing I miss. The non-humidity.
It is something else, because honestly, I'll roll out of work and it'll be like 90 degrees and I'll still have my fleece on. It's still hot, right? But it's and I don't want to use the old cliche of to dry heat, but it really is. You don't really notice it. The big thing I like about here in Colorado is just the sun. It's sun, especially down in the springs. It's sunny every day. It is just sunny. You get the spotty clouds, and we still get. It's funny, Scotty, because I'll never forget when I came out here with you guys a couple summers ago, and you're like, "Yep, we always get that late afternoon, quick shower, quick storm." Good storms too. I'll tell you what, there's been some fantastic lightning storms out here, but it's always about anywhere from 4 to 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's just a straight line of rain, rolls right through. Beautiful out right after that. It's incredible. But really, the sun is, even in the winter, January, February, March. That was something that I really enjoyed. Was the fact that you get clouds, but they're not a blanket of clouds, right? Like we get in Michigan. You know what I mean? It's not like if it's cloudy out in Michigan, the whole sky is gray. It's something really different.
Yeah, for like 4 months.
What's that?
Yeah, like for 4 months.
Yeah, for 4 months straight. So that's something I really, I've really noticed. Moving back to some of the comments, so Steve Fox, I probably get more excited for Michigan football. That's true. I mean, just because football is our sport, right? There's no arguing that. I think everyone enjoys football a little more than basketball. There's a little more sense of urgency, because if you lose a game in football, it's detrimental to your season. See, Steve Fox also.
Again, I wish it was football. It just hasn't been.
Yeah.
I'd much rather it be football.
Yeah, exactly. Steve Fox, in regards to your last question, Scotty, humidity and wind are the two worst weather elements. I don't get affected by the humidity that much unless I'm really, I'll never forget, what was it, Scotty? Maybe I think 2 years ago. Remember during Memorial Day? Yeah, it was 2 years ago during Memorial Day weekend when we listened to the Indy 500 out on the boat. Holy cow. It's just, when there's no wind, Steve, and humidity, and it's hot, that's the worst. And you had a few too many adult cocktails the night before, so you're sweating all that out, right?
Yeah.
That's a little that can be brutal. But what about you, Scotty? You have a preference? Are you a hater of humidity as well, or?
Man, in living in Denver the first 30 years of my life, it's taken a lot to adjust to the humidity. That's what affects me the most. I can handle heat. I've been in Vegas when it's been 116. It's
Yeah,
hot, but it's not. I just it's bearable. 95, 98 in Colorado, it's hot, but it's
yeah,
bearable.
yeah.
It's the humidity that, especially out here when it gets real hot and humid, it just sucks the life out of me.
I'll tell you what, Scotty. One thing I dislike about out here is how dry it actually is, especially in the winter.
Oh
It
yeah.
wreaks havoc on your sinuses. Um, it really does in your skin. I definitely noticed a difference, especially sleeping. Nose gets all dry. Your nasal gets all dry.
Yep.
It does have an effect on you. So. But so I would trade all of that for the sun, especially growing up in Michigan, being in Michigan for 36 years. Yeah, and having to experience the gloomy, depressing winters of no sunlight. Not the snow. The snow's
Mhm.
okay. I don't mind the snow. I don't mind the cold. If it's cold and sunny out, though, I'm down with that. I don't have a problem with that. So,
Yeah.
um, Steve
Yep.
Fox is terrible to golf in those elements. Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. Making some gravy, right, Steve? Okay, let's see. What do I got for you? Right. Oh, here's one for you, Scotty. And I've kind of changed my attitude on this one over the last couple years. But comedy, a high comic like comedy show or a rock concert.
Ooh,
Yeah, we got some good ones going tonight, don't we?
that is a really good one. I like a concert. I think it's more of an experience. I think, and I've been to a bunch of them. I like comedy shows. Don't get me wrong, and they're a lot of fun. But yeah, I think of rock concerts a lot more
Yeah, I
fun.
kind of lean like I thought it was gonna be rock concert all the way when I was thinking about this actually, but then I started to think,
Oh,
the
I'll use my both.
there you go. There you go. Hey, fair enough. I'll be right there with you. The only reason I'd say like comedy shows, I don't know why. After every comedy show, just that your attitude is just so good. You know what I mean? And you just feel laughing all night. The endorphins were firing.
Yeah,
Just everything about it. You come out there in a great mood, especially like a top
yeah,
notch comic that you actually really like. Yeah, I'd have to go with Steve Fox has high comedy as well. Yeah, but if there you can't beat the energy of a good rock concert again, especially if it's someone that you've liked. You know what I mean? Especially if it's someone a band that you've really enjoyed over the years. But same with the
man,
comic
that
too.
Chevelle
If you
show was
really
so
like the
awesome.
comic, what's that, buddy?
That Chevelle show was so awesome.
We won't discuss that. We only have actually we got 3 minutes left, buddy. So 2.5 minutes. You got any more?
Yeah, I was kind of struggling to find another one, but and I know you're not a huge golfer, but would you rather be a professional golfer and have like a hole in one and miss the cut, or last in the money and make the cut?
Oh, well, I do understand what that means. I would have to say, I would honestly rock a hole in one. I don't know, obviously if I'm, if no, if it was like my only tournament, and I needed, I just barely made,
Need money?
yeah, exactly. If I really needed it, obviously that changes the circumstances. But if it was a one time deal to where like, okay, what would obviously you probably don't need the money if you're on the PGA tour, right?
Hmm.
There's a lot of people that make some good money, but I would say, yeah, probably the hole in one, simply because it's so you just don't get a lot of them, right? It's a hole in
Right.
one is very tough. Obviously, I don't golf a lot, but getting and I've never shot a hole in one. So, what about you, buddy?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the hole in one would be cool.
Really? Okay, okay, right on. Steve Fox has hole in one too. So, yeah, I think the hole in one is just a little more, like I said, if you're already in the PGA event and you just happen is the I know the money is pretty substantially higher when you make the cut, right? So, especially the person like if this was at the Masters, just making the cut. What's the last place in the Masters? If you get to play all 4 days.
I don't know. It's Masters is pretty good. I mean, different tournaments, obviously, with the different purses. The Masters purse is big, whereas like this last tournament, that last in the money didn't make that much. I wouldn't think.
Okay. Okay. Well, fair enough. All right.
Well, and here's the other thing I just thought of with a hole in one. You're making Sports Center.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Not that anyone.
A little bit of marketing, right? A little bit of marketing.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be cool. I don't know how many of the PGA golfers. I'm sure most of them have had a hole in one before, if not multiple. But you never know. That'd be a cool stat to look up on how many of the like top 100 money earners in the PGA from last year, how many hole in ones they've had. If there's any on that list that have never had a hole in one, that would be something. That'd be something
that
to
would
look
be.
up. But we are out of time, folks. We are approaching the 1 hour mark. Thanks, everyone, for joining in tonight again. Go visit the M Factor merch store. Go pick up some M Factor A to G gear, some the T-shirts, sweatshirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all that stuff. Really appreciate it. And thanks for the people that have already bought some stuff. Really appreciate it. Also, if you missed the episode, make sure to head on over to the M Factor channel where you can catch shows like the A to G show, A Train Radio show, and of course the original M Factor podcast. So don't forget about that. But again, thanks for the support, everyone. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Scotty, thanks, buddy. Anything else to add tonight?
No, I think I'm good. Just looking to see if they can get some of this stuff worked out on some of these sports, so we can get moving again. Looking forward to. I think colleges can start interacting with students on the 13th of July, and hopefully we can get some of this stuff going.
Yeah, that's the big one too. Really want to get the college things wrapped up. So thanks, Scotty. Thanks again for sitting in for G tonight, Scotty. Appreciate it. It's always a good time. Thanks, everyone, for viewing. I'm Adam Mamble, Scott Ulibarri from the A to G Show. We will see you all next week.